Welcome back, guys. In 2024, I highlighted 22 of the most affordable housing markets in the country, with price to income ratios of 3 and under, meaning that the values of the presented houses equals 3 years of the median income in that market.
Now we're talking!
This is in contrast to some of the most expensive housing markets in the country, like Los Angeles at 12, Glendale, California at 15, Palo Alto at 19, and Newport Beach at 25.
That isn't crazy.
In my Get Ahead 1 Year Later series, we'll see just how much the most affordable real estate in the country sold for. And in this video, we'll revisit Des Moines, Iowa, and Terre Haute, Indiana. And the first house we'll look at in Des Moines, Iowa is 6208 Southeast 2nd Street. It was listed on July 8th last year for $155,000, and it sold on September 5th, 2024 for $160,000. And these numbers really do line up. They confirm a lot of the data coming out of the Midwest, and especially Des Moines, Iowa, that says that prices overall have been coming down while the average price has been going up. And I'll go over those reports in detail. We'll talk about it later. But this is a really pretty house, and I'm really excited for that new homeowner. It looks like they got a deal on that one. The next house is 111 East Maxwellton Drive, and it was listed on July 8th, 2024 for $189,900, and after 5 price drops, it sold for $155,000 about 3 months later on October 31st, Halloween. And today I'm going to use a couple of different websites. I'm going to use Zillow, but I'm also going to use a really powerful website called PropWire. And I may have told you about this in previous videos. As a matter of fact, it was PropStream that I told you about, but I've been using PropWire more recently.
It's awesome.
But we'll start here on Zillow with the listing here. It says $155,000 sales price for this house. As we go down, that's the Zestimate, and it shows the rent Zestimate also right here, which is going to be an important variable in our analysis of this property and to see how well this buyer did. Let's go over to PropWire, and we look up 111 East Maxwellton Drive, and we click on the property tab right here. There are 5 tabs up here: property, owner, comps, history, and market. We're going to look at the data in the property tab, and we can see that it's off market. This is the estimated property value about what it sold for. And when we come down here to open mortgages, we can see some really interesting and helpful data. The loan amount is $124,000 with an estimated payment of $773. The balance, the rate of 6.37%. I can grab this and pull it over. There we go. The lender here, the Green State Credit Union, it's a conventional with a 360-month term. And so we can look at the payment, $773, and go back to the rent estimate of $1,535, and we can do the math and know that they would be cash flowing $762 if they decided to rent that out, which is a very important element of real estate investing, not just for people who are going to be owner occupants, people who want to buy their dream home and live in it for 10, 20, 30 years. But as we're seeing, there are economic downturns that you may not anticipate, that you can't count on. And you want to be a savvy buyer. You want to give yourself some latitude, some elbow room, a safety net of cash flow. If anything happens, if you have to move out of that house into something cheaper that's under $700, you could do that, and you could still cash flow $762 with a rent of $1,535. So these are the numbers that I look at when I look at the viability of a property.
Use your brain, you gotta stop and you gotta think.
I consider a person upside down if their mortgage payment is in excess of the rent zestimate. If they can't rent it out for what their mortgage is, they're upside down in that property, and that is a dangerous position to be in. These are the first variables on PropWire that I look at. And so we see 123 East Phillip Street here. Let me pop out of that. Let me come back to PropWire. And so when I'm looking at these properties, we can go to comps right here, and we can see if that person got a good deal on the house, if they bought it in the same price range as other homes in that neighborhood. And we see here 110 East Maxwellton Drive for $217, 117 East Phillip Street for $215. So they bought theirs for $155. So they're far below these two houses here, which were bought pretty recently, just in the past couple months. And it's a different economy now. So homes are more expensive with inflation, and they got a good deal back then. 167 for 101 East Phillip. That's a little more comparable because that was back in 2024. But then we come down to 123 East Phillip Street, and we see $50,500
Shut your mouth.
purchase price. What happened there?
This is impossible.
We can click on that. That'll bring us to, no thank you, I don't need premium leads quite yet.
I'm good.
123 East Phillip Street. And we are in the property tab, and we can come down here. So we see the purchase price for $50,500. Crazy equity here. Crazy equity, because if we go to Zillow, we can see that the Zestimate is $238,200. And then we come back here. It looks like they do have a mortgage out on it. So they likely bought it for cash for $50,000, took out a mortgage of $90,000 on it with an estimated payment of $657 at a 3.81% rate. So with a payment of $675 and a rent estimate of $1,480, that would equal $823 cash flow if they had to rent this house out. Here it is. Here's the street view. That looks like a solid house. Looks really nice. It's a 3-2, a little over 1,000 square feet. So a decent house, but they got a really good deal on this house. So you can see PropWire is a really useful, really powerful software that you can use to do your research in detail on these properties. And just talking a little bit more about the Des Moines real estate market, they have a median home price of $200,000, but homes can be found up to $2.5 million in neighborhoods like Salisbury Oaks. And the inventory is rising in this town. The days on market has been increasing. In February of this year, it was 48 days for days on market. It is becoming more of a buyer's market, but buyers are being cautious right now because they don't want to catch a falling knife. Prices are coming down all over the country. It looks like the Federal Reserve is doing its job by keeping rates high and bringing asset prices down, even though we don't like it. So while we see high interest rates bringing asset prices down in certain markets, Des Moines saw a 3.5 increase in average sales month over month from February to March, and a 1.7-year increase year over year. And this means that people in Des Moines are willing to pay a premium. They're willing to pay a premium. They don't have to, but they will if they have to.
I'm never satisfied.
And guys, especially now, people are motivated to unload those bloated post-pandemic reassessment mortgages and move into something that is smaller, sleeker, lighter, and just more economical. And Des Moines is one of the fastest growing metros in the Midwest. They've seen a 3.1 increase from 2020 to 2023, and it is on track to reach 1 million residents in the coming years. It trails just behind the fastest growing metro in the Midwest with more than 50,000 residents, Sioux Falls, which grew at 6.3%.
She's growing up so fast.
And next up is Terre Haute, Indiana. And the first house we'll look at here is 1287 East Garden Drive, which was listed on June 7th, 2024 for $165,000. And after two price drops, sold on September 9th, 2024 for $160,000. And this has all the evidence of a balanced buyers and sellers market if it only was negotiated down $5,000. It may have been for something like a new roof or a new HVAC system, a new water heater, something of that nature. This house looks really clean, looks like it has good bones. It might need some updates, but overall it looks like a very clean house, and it looks like the buyer made a good purchase.
Well played.
And the next property we'll look at is 1940 Wheeler Avenue, and it was listed on July 9th of last year at $199,900 and was removed just about a month later with a zestimate of $177,000. And let's take a look at that on Zillow. There it is, $177,000. So if they were listing it at $199,900, this seller was really trying to shoot the moon by about $23,000, and maybe they quickly realized that they were overpricing this and decided to take it off of the market. When we look at the rent estimate, it is $1,900 rounding down. And let's go to PropWire and look at the open mortgages on this house. Looks like they had a loan for about $69,000. The estimated balance is about $4,200, and the current payment is $543. So $1,924 minus $543, that's roughly $1,500 cash flow if they wanted or needed to rent out this property. It goes to show that not all sales go through. A lot of homes are being taken off the market because the sellers are realizing that they're overpricing their properties, and they're just not going to get the price that they want for their properties. It just makes more sense to stay in instead of sell if they're not going to get out the equity.
Discuss.
And according to all data, Terre Haute is a seller's market right now because there is so low inventory, leading to high demand. Reports suggest that prices are down 32% year over year, with a median sales price of $97,620 as of February 2025. So while sellers are pricing their homes low, median sale prices are up, indicating that there is competition for the existing inventory. And the reasons for the increased demand could be that the cost of living in Terre Haute is 5.5% lower than the national average, and housing is 21.3% less expensive than the national average. 21.3%
Say what?
lower than the national average. When I searched for single-family homes yesterday in Terre Haute, Indiana, 12 results came up. 12 houses in this city are listed on the MLS. That is going to create some demand for a city with a 21.3% reduction in the cost of living. And this is in contrast to Atlanta, whose inventory has spiked 31%.
That ain't good.
Other cities that have dynamics like this going on are San Francisco, whose inventory is up 32%, Riverside, California, with a 33% inventory increase, Sacramento is up 34%, Phoenix is up 35%, Los Angeles is up 35%, San Jose is up 36%, San Diego is up 39%, Las Vegas is up 40% in their inventory, and Denver, Colorado is at nearly a 50% increase in inventory. I live in Denver, and I see for sale signs everywhere. So if you want to buy a 3-bed, 2-bath house with 1,500 square feet for $600,000, you could be the next sucker on the price is too high. Welcome to the Mile High City, folks. Your brain would have to be oxygen deprived to pay those prices for what you get here. And in cities with price to income ratios of 3 and under, like Des Moines and Terre Haute, the grass truly is greener, my friends, and so are your pockets because you're keeping more money in them. And another thing I'm going to try to do with these videos is highlight businesses, local American companies in these towns with price to income ratios of 3 and under. And the business that I want to highlight in Terre Haute, Indiana is Five Cardinals Bakery.
I'm really passionate about making like the perfect loaf of bread, which I know doesn't exist, but I'm always asking, how can I do this better? My name is Eric Fisher, and I'm from Terre Haute, Indiana. Our bakery is Five Cardinals Bakery. There are 5 of us in the family, and the state bird of Indiana is a cardinal. We wanted it to be that family business. It's something that is needed. There's a lot of coffee shops. A lot of them have cookies and scones and various pastries, but you know, the homemade croissants and pain au chocolat are not something you could just walk in. I had some friends want to open up a coffee shop, and so they rented this space, and they have a little coffee shop bookstore next door. And this is going to be the main space here. It's really exciting. There's places called the Magpie's Nest, which goes well with the Five Cardinals. So this is going to be the actual desk table that they use. They'll have several types of coffee. Comes with this kitchen space, and they asked us if we wanted to sublease from them and have a commercial bakery. So here we are.
And on that note, I want to thank you guys for continuing to turn in. Thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope that these videos bring you value. Remember to like, subscribe, comment below, share this with someone you know, and don't give up when you can get ahead.